Today we are building and deploying a complete production-ready REST API using ASP.NET Core in .NET 10 and Entity Framework Core. We will understand how to build our standard CRUD operations for a certification catalog, test it locally, then provision and deploy the entire setup to Azure App Service backed up by an Azure SQL Database. If you want to master how to take a local .NET API and put it live in the cloud seamlessly, this is the video for you. If you are new here, please subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell. Let's get into the demo. We will open a Visual Studio and get started. In my previous video, I talked about how to create CRUD operations with ASP.NET Core Web API and Entity Framework Core. I will provide the link in the description. And this is the code base. You can clone it. And the same repo I have cloned here. If you look at the project structure, in order to work with Entity Framework Core, you have to add this Entity Framework Core package and the SQL Server. We are using Scalar as well to show our API endpoints like Swagger UI. In launch setting.json, we put launch browser as true, and by default we are opening the Scalar UI. In the program.cs, we are referring Entity Framework Core and the Scalar as well here. In order to work with Entity Framework Core, we have appdb context. We are trying to inject into the services. We have a default connection here, and the connection is coming from your app settings. And here we are referring to the Scalar API reference. Now let's go to the appdb context. In the appdb context, in order to work with Entity Framework, you have to inherit db context, and this is our db set, which is a certification model, and certifications is the our table name in the database. And if you go to the certification model, we have these many properties available, and these properties should be column names in your table. And if you go to app settings, we are connected to playground database, and I connected here. I'm in my local SQL Express, and this is the table. And if you look at here, I have already pre-populated the data. Now let's run the app. After running the app, by default our Scalar is opened in the Edge browser. These are our operations. So let's go to the get call. Let's make a test request. Now it returned all our certifications which are available in our local database. This operation is get all. This is for particular certification ID. With the post, you can insert the certification. Put is basically to update the certification, and delete also is available. Now let's test the endpoint with the ID. Let's pass ID as 1, and we are getting certification related to certification ID 1. Let's test the post endpoint. Click on test request. For the test data, you can go to .htp file which I pushed to the repo. Let's take from here. Instead of Scalar, you can test all your endpoints within the Visual Studio also with .http file. Now let me put this new certification. Now let's send this data. We got 201. It is created with the ID 16. And if you go to the database now you can see newly created certificate here. So these are the endpoints which are created in the ASP.NET with Entity Framework code. For detailed understanding of this code base, you can watch my previous video. The major intent of this video is how you can deploy this web API to Azure App Service and this particular SQL database to Azure SQL, and how you can connect. Now let's go to the Azure. Now let's create Azure App Service. So I'm creating a new resource group. Let's select .NET 10. Let's select the region. Create a new app service plan. Make sure you select right plan for you. I'm selecting free here. I will skip all other options. Let's go and create. Now the app service is created. Let's go to the resource group. In the resource group, we have one app service and one app service plan, which is a free tier. Now let's go and create one SQL server. SQL. We will select the same resource group as our app service. Let's give the database name. Let's give the same database name. So let's put playground. So here we need to create a server. Let's select the same location. So let's select use both SQL and Entra. So make sure that you are noting down this login. So here workload I'm selecting development. As it for demo purpose, I'll select the basic version. And you can check the cost details. So ours is basic and 2 GB storage, and LRS is fine for us. Let's review and create. Now the SQL server and database is created. And if you look at here, we have a SQL server and the database. Now let's go and deploy our API to Azure App Service. We are going to use Visual Studio Publish Profile. Make sure these checkboxes are enabled. Now let's go to Visual Studio. Click on Publish. Click on Add Publish Profile. Let's select Azure. We'll select App Service Windows. As I connected to my account, now it will show our list of app services. This is our resource group. This is the app. Let's select. I will skip API management step. Let's click on finish. Here it shows two service dependencies, but we will configure connection string manually. Let's go and publish. After the app is deployed, the scalar is not working. The reason is in the code we mentioned scalar will only load in development, but when it is deployed, right, it deploys with release. So what I have done is in the app settings, I've added an environment called development. Now I'm able to load the scalar, but in production application, you should not be doing this. Now let's hit our endpoint. Let's hit the endpoint. If you look at the API response, it's a 500 internal server because it's not able to connect to our SQL database. Now we need to go to Azure App Service and map the connection string. Before that, let's go and create our table and the data. So let me take this create and insert scripts. Let's go to the database. So from the query editor, you can connect. Let's use SQL authentication. Here the public access is disabled. Let's go to the network settings. Let's add our current IP. Now it's connected to our database. Let's put a new query. Let's create the table and insert the data. If you run the query, select start from certification. Now the data is available. Now let's take the connection string. So let's take the SQL Server authentication. From the environment variables, go to connection strings. Click on add connection string. For the name, get from app settings. Now let's apply this. Now the connection string is added. Let's go and test our endpoint. Now if you look at the response, now we are getting the data from Azure SQL Database. This is our app deployed to Azure App Service, and this data is coming from Azure SQL. Now let's go and test one post endpoint. Let's test the request. Let's get the data from here. And if you look at the exam code MLS C01, now if you look at select star from certification, we don't have any code with MLS C01. Now let's go and push this data. Now our post is successful. We got ID as 17 and this is saved to Azure SQL. Let's go and verify. So here previously 9 rows. Now it shows 10 rows and this MLS C01 is pushed to Azure SQL. Like this, you can go and test other endpoints. It will work. Just one thing, while creating SQL server and database, we have given a SQL authentication password. When you're putting into Azure App Service, make sure you replace your password. Now, if you make a get call, you should get the newly created certification as well. With this, we are done with the demo. We have created an web API with entity framework where we push the data to local SQL. We deployed the same code to Azure App Service and we created the database and tables in the Azure SQL. Now with the connection string, we are able to talk to Azure App Service and Azure SQL. Now our web API is deployed to Azure App Service and the backend is Azure SQL. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to .NET channel, click on notification bell so you don't miss our videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.